Hello and welcome back to the part 4 of this series of videos in the 7c's of communication. So in this video, we'll focus on correct concreteness, concreteness. So effective communications happen when the message is concrete and supported by facts, figures, and real life examples and situations. In this case, the receiver is more connected to the message conveyed. So if you're trying to send out a message that is supported by facts or has figures, numbers, um, to back up what you're saying, or if your message has real life examples, then more likely your reader will appreciate the message or will understand the message better. Okay, so communicating concretely means being specific, definite, and vivid rather than vague and general. So, if you want them to really understand what you are trying to communicate to them, you have to be specific, you have to be definite, and you have to use vivid um, imagery in order for them to understand what you mean, okay? Avoid being vague or general. So be specific, be direct, be definite. Okay, so use denotative words. So these are dictionary based meaning rather than connotative, because when it's connotative, then sometimes you have different definitions of words. So always use denotative meaning. Okay, let's continue. So, there are specific ways to indicate concreteness. So, number one is to use specific facts and figures. Number two, put actions in your verbs. And three, choose vivid image building words. I will give you examples for each so that you will understand, this is what it means. So, let's go. So, when I say use specific facts and figures, use exact, precise statement or a figure instead of general word to make your message more concrete. It's easy to generalize something, okay? So you can just say, girls are really just concerned with their looks. But is it a fact or an opinion when you say that? So if you want your opinion to be more understood and accepted by the others, you have to support your opinion with a fact. Okay? So, for example, vague. Student SAT scores are higher. SAT. Okay? Student SAT scores are higher. So that's very vague. That's very general. What do you mean higher? Higher by how many percent? Or higher how? Okay? So to make it more concrete, you can say in 1999, the SAT scores averaged 600. By 2000, they had risen to 610. So that's one way of making yourself clear by being specific on your facts and your figures. Let's continue. So, when not to use specific details? Sometimes, in communication, it is a balance. It's like a dance. Although we say that use specific details, there are some situation or instances when giving specific details will depict the purpose of your message. For example, when it's not possible to be specific, you may not have the precise facts or figures. Okay, so if you don't have the exact uh, facts and figures, do not make up facts or figures, because it can come back to you that you're just making up your statistics or you're just making up your numbers. So if you don't have the facts or figure, I would suggest find it first, or if it is an face-to-face interaction where there is no time to prepare, then just do not include that figure if you don't have it at hand. Second, when you wish to be diplomatic. This is very important. Communication is all about diplomacy. If the person you're talking to is already feeling attacked or ignored or maligned, then the communication breaks down instantly. Why? Because he will not listen to you anymore. No matter how much you tried, how matter how factual you are, how matter how prepared you are for your message, for your speech, for your anything, okay? If the person feels attacked, maligned, ignored, okay, then he stops listening to your message. And that is the end of it. Okay, you cannot win him back. Okay, if he zoned out, if you lost his interest, then it's goodbye. So it's very important to be diplomatic. For example, you have missed 3 invitations to my office. It might sound harsh, and it is harsh, and some people might feel offended by if they receive this message. You have missed 3 invitations to my office. So how do we say it in a more tactful, in a more sensitive way? You can say, I've sent you several reminders to see me in my office. Okay, so that is less um, specific. Yes, it's less specific, but it is more diplomatic. Instead of attacking the person or the message sounding like an attack, you are still diplomatic. Okay? And then the third one is when exact figures aren't important. So, there are instances where the figures are not important or the facts are not important. Like, for example, when you are um, uh, speaking in front of an audience inside a venue and you say that we are gathered here today in the city hall. Okay. Uh, that is moot. That is not necessary because the person knows that he is already in the city hall. That's also my example for being concise. So, not all facts are necessarily important. So, just pick those that are important that will support your main idea. Okay, so the thing is here, you have to make your idea clear. You have to make your message clear, okay? And only include facts that would support your idea. Let's continue. So, um, we will talk about passive and active forms of sentences or phrases. Um, it's very important because use active rather than passive voice because it shows life in the sentence when a subject acts. Okay, so we prefer active voice. Okay, for example, passive. A decision has been made. So here, the subject is the decision. A decision has been made. Okay? So, active is a dean decided. See? A dean decided is more um, factual, is more direct, it's more informative. Okay. So, now we go to passive again. It will be noted. You will note. Okay, so it creates more action. Okay, next, it it is shown by figures. So figures show is better. Okay, and then the last example is a contest was held by the student. So students held a contest. So again, your subject should be the doer of the action. It should be in active rather than in passive. Let's continue. Okay. Use passive voice when. So not every time you will be using passive active voice. Sometimes you need to use passive voice. When is the right time to use passive voice? Okay. When you want to avoid personal comment, as in the October check was not included, is better than you failed to include the October check. So, using the object as the subject, changing the arrangement of the sentence from um, um, active to passive sometimes makes the statement more democratic, more empathetic, more less direct, but more effective. Okay? So, or attendance at the meeting is required is less harsh than you must attend the meeting. So, when you say you must attend the meeting, it sounds like you're giving order, but if you say attendance is a must or attendance is required, then it's better for the people that is hearing your message. So when you want to stress the object of action as you are invited is more suitable than we invite you. Okay? You are invited is better than we invite you. And when the doer is not important, as three announcements were made before the meeting started. So the announcer is not important. But what is important is the announcements. So that is when you use passive voice. Okay, preferably we focus on the active voice because it gives more life. It brings more life to your message. But sometimes you have to use passive voice, and these are the instances when we have to use passive voice. Okay. The last one is choose vivid message building word. So, use sensory word, comparison, figurative language, concrete nouns, well chosen adjective and adverbs, but with caution as formal communication uses fewer descriptors than does magazines and articles or fiction writing. So again, this depends on your audience. This depends on your objective of communication. This depends on the context of situation. So sometimes it's good to choose vivid words because you can really explain yourself using vivid words. But sometimes in business, it is not like that. You have to go really straight to the point. So um, I'm just gonna give you a few examples here. For sensory appeal, it was hot in the factory. That is very straightforward way of saying that. But if your audience is more, or if you're writing an article or a feature in the magazine, or you're trying to do a declamation, then you can use sweat tickle down the arms of the line workers. So when you say sweat trickle down the arms, you can imagine the sweat trickling down the arms of the line workers. You see what I mean? It gives it more life. It makes you if it brings your mind to a different scenario rather than it was out in the factory. Your imagination doesn't work that much. Okay. Next, comparison. This is a longer letter. Okay. How can you make it more vivid? He worked in groups. Her works in group was exemplary. Okay. So Um, I think that was not the example. There is a typo error. So how do you make this into a comparison? Okay, so we can say that this letter is twice as long as your first letter. Okay, so there is a comparison um, that creates a better image, a better understanding of what you want to say. Because if you say just this letter is long, this is a long letter, s- based on what? Okay, but if you say, okay, this letter is longer than your first um, letter. Okay, or this project is far better than the last one that you submitted to me. Good job. Okay, rather than just saying that this project is better. Okay, so there is comparison. Now we go to figurative language. He works in a group. Her work in groups was exemplary. Okay, so how do we make it um, a figurative language? Okay, so you can say that um, she really did her best, okay, uh, in order to bring home the bacon for the group. Okay, so that is using figurative language. Bring home the bacon, meaning to gain success over something. Okay, so that is figurative language. I'm sorry for the slides. It was an oversight. Okay, let's continue. Okay, so checklist for concreteness. So precise in presenting facts and figures. You have to be precise when you present your facts and figures. Make sure that it's really fact. Make sure that your reference is correct. Make sure that you know where you got your data from. But because um, especially in debate, okay, it's very important that you know your facts because opinions doesn't matter in debates, only facts. Okay, next. Use active voice more than passive. Okay. The fourth one is use action verbs to make the idea clear. So for us to have a very concrete, a very solid message, we can put action verbs to make the idea clear. And finally, use of image building words like comparison, figure of speech, and the other one that we discussed in order to make your message really concrete and not vague. Okay, so being concrete and not vague. That is the um, what is important in this part of the 7 C's. Okay, so I hope to see you next video. Till then, bye bye for now.